Hello, everybody, and welcome to Marvel Avengers Alliance Redux Thursday night fights here on G4G on YouTube. I'm Napalm Dawn. Let's go ahead and describe what is going on with this series as it is the first in the line of videos I'm going to do for this. So, for those of you who know, on Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 3 o'clock Eastern to 5 o'clock Eastern, in the PM, obviously, not in the middle of the night, I stream Marvel Avengers Alliance Redux 5.91 content over on Twitch. You know, we do it for about 2 hours. We cover other Marvel games, like occasionally Future Fight, Marvel Snap, pretty big, Marvel Strike Force. We would occasionally go in and take a look at the uniforms in Marvel Super War. Unfortunately, that game is now dead. It had some of the best uniforms I've ever seen in a Marvel game. And unfortunately, I've never managed to get into the Marvel Rivals beta, so we don't cover that. And very, very rarely, sometimes we go into the old Play Avengers game. What I'm doing here on Thursday nights is now doing 5 PvP fights on YouTube. So on Tuesday, Wednesday, when I do the Twitch stream, I usually do a daily set of 5 PvP fights in the tournament. And I've decided to branch out and do 5 of those fights on Thursday here on YouTube, because Friday is the soothing premium mission night. Typically, it wasn't intended to be that way, but it seems like mostly on Friday is when I film those particular videos. So now we have Redux content Tuesdays and Wednesdays on Twitch, and Thursdays and Fridays here on YouTube. To give you a bit of an introduction to the series, the typical disclaimer is in effect. What you see before you is beta 5.91, which is a closed beta test. It is not available to the public. It will not be available to the public. I also do not have an ETA on beta 6. 5.9 is being heavily scrutinized by the beta testers to continue reporting on bugs, so that when beta 6 drops, it is as bug-free as we can get it. 6 and 5.9 feature the same overall content in terms of Spec Ops, PvP seasons, etc. It will be the equivalent to Season 1 way back in the Marvel Avengers Alliance days, which is basically its release in 2012 to, I think, about August of 2013. So if a Spec Ops or Gear or a PvP season occurred during that first year and a half or so, you will see it in Beta 6. The most recent beta that you guys can get access to will be in the description, and that is Beta 5.2. Yes, there are differences between 5.9 and 5.2, like tooltips and content and available heroes. You don't need to ask about it. You don't need to point it out. So, these fights are now going to be practice fights because I have already beaten the first PvP season and recruited Deadpool. So, instead of actually doing ladder fights, I will be doing practice fights. However, it will net me my 5 wins for my 5 daily wins for the PvP spinner. So let's go ahead and get into it. So first off, here is my current armory. Mostly Tangler grenades and 1 or 2 higher ticket PvP only items. When beta 6 drops, unless the calculations have changed, I would not recommend completely jacking up your armory, as the stronger your armory gets, the way more powerful opponents get themselves in terms of hit points, stamina, and damage capacity. Now, your capacity goes up, but I have found at around this level, it is fairly balanced. If you're a World of Warcraft fan, you know that World of Warcraft, when things get out of hand, when the level gets up to 100 or people's hit points are in the million, they do something called a stat squish. And Playdom did that with Marvel Avengers Alliance back in the day. They had a stat squish in there. And if you start jacking up your armory with really, really powerful armory items, yeah, you are you're gonna have outrageous numbers like 20 million hit points and everything. So just kind of be chill. Supplies, early game supplies are good, like health packs and as you can see here, the Tangler grenades and everything. Currently, I'm using a Blaster suit with Spider-Woman and Blaster Original Strange. It is a little Blaster heavy, but it does relatively okay. Spider-Woman's mind control is pretty good. I have a quick action Pincer, the rocket pistol, the Coulson's Revenge, and the AoE Toolbox from the Mockingbird Spec Ops. And my roster bonuses currently look like this. As you can see, the roster thumbnails are now really big and really well detailed compared to how they were in the game. One person's commented that they like the old one better because it fit more on screen. They may not have realized that you can scroll to see others, but this is done on purpose. Aesthetically, I like it better, and so does about 95% of the population, as you can really appreciate the heroes and their thumbnails and the detail. However, it is not done for aesthetic reasons, it's done for functional reasons, because as the roster continues to grow, the UI would go through drastic changes to fit everybody in. If you just make it scrollable to see everybody, then you can basically go to infinity because you can just keep scrolling until you have reached the end of your blasters and your bruisers, etc., etc. So I'm running a little blaster and scrapper heavy right now. This is not on purpose. I am not orienting my roster for PvP bonuses right now, as is way too early in the game for that. It's just simply what my roster is doing. So we're going to hit practice, and we're going to go ahead and jump into it. So, okay, this is actually... this is a demon set. Yeah, there was the Son of the Demon set and the Demon set. This is one of those sets of gear, and I feel bad when I run into this agent because the self-debuffs that this set places almost halves their hit points. So it looks like we are dealing with Tactician, Phoenix 5, Emma Frost, a Scrapper, a Infiltrator Agent, and Blaster Thor, and a second uniform over there. So we're going to avoid the Tactician. I may as well just finish off the enemy agent because he's already low. Just about gets him out of there. Take a pretty big counterattack from the Fury. And I almost always open up with the rocket pistol because why not? I can tell you the rocket pistol does a really, really good job in PvP. It is one of my recommended PvP items for people to get. Because, it is really a friends with benefit type of gun, because it does very, very good single target damage, and the fact that you get the bleed and burning splash out of it, you enable two kinds of early game teams. You enable burning teams and bleeding teams, and just 2 dots for the price of a solid initial shot. It's just, a bonus. It is getting a hamburger and getting the fries for free. All right, turn again for my enemy agent. We do want to walk around Emma, who sometimes you will see class benefits don't always work particularly well right now. That is one of the things that the team is working on. So if you happen to catch it, just don't worry about it too much. It is something that will be fixed for Beta 6. I'm going to walk around the Blaster versus Tactician attack and go for the enemy Thor, who got roasted. And now we've got a 3-on-1 with Emma. If you remember, original Emma Frost was pretty hardy back in the day. she had that rebirth later in the game when the particular infiltrator ISO popped up that said your attacks are stealthy and they pre-fire. So if you go to attack a infiltrator and the infiltrator has the class bonuses up, they will attack before the attack lands, and that means the psychic tap would go out from Emma as you're attacking, which means it would trigger the psychic tap instantly. That was an extremely, I think it was the covert infiltrator EISO at the time, and it was obnoxious. And her diamond body also made her pretty resistant to damage. So trying to get Emma out of the match early so that you didn't have to deal with her bullshit a lot was tough, especially if you had non-stealthy characters, and usually there was a P5 Colossus that was tanking, most likely with the elite ISO. So you had a really, really good infiltrator ISO on Emma, and then you had a really good bruiser ISO on Colossus. It was tough. I talk about that time with friend of the channel Darth Plato a lot, and he mentions that that particular period never really bothered him because he tended to run specialized blasters that just basically would melt Colossus really easily. So we did get the same kind of agent again. The last time I went and did the mind control, I think I'll do it again. Mind control is great if somebody's not going to do an AoE attack. If it's a single target, they have a chance of hitting the enemy team or intercepting their team's own attacks. The Loki staff is a pretty good early game item if you can win one on the spinner. It's actually very defensive in the sense that if you can get the enemies to beat each other up, well, then that's less damage coming to your team. Unlock potential clears debuffs. It didn't seem to do that on this one though, so that's a little bit of a bug there. But she went and died anyway. You'll notice that there isn't experience. That is a bug that is being worked on. If I was to go and do a PvE mission and gain experience and then did PvP, I would be able to gain that experience, but proper experience gains will be there in Beta 6. So we've got 2 battles done. We're now facing Scarlet Witch and Future Foundation Invisible Woman. Very, very interesting team. We all know what it was like to go against Air Pressure, Future Foundation, Invisible Woman, and Molly back in the day when the idea was to protect Molly from debuffs so that she wouldn't get exhausted, so that she would go into her tantrum and wreck your team. Fun time in PvP. That was one of my more favorite times in PvP as I used Heroic Age Iron Fist and Molly together on offense, and they were a lot of fun. The Chaos Shield did land on Invisible Woman, but we're going to get a scrapper benefit out of this, and we're going to poison her anyway, so I'm going to go for it, even though the shield's going to heal her. That is actually really, really smart, to have Invisible Woman do her own shields and then get a Chaos Shield from Scarlet Witch. I commend the AI on that one. Smart play. That makes for a pretty robust Invisible Woman there. It's just unfortunate for her. We have a scrapper. We all know that perhaps Richard Reed was a often underrated Fantastic Four member, that he was capable of really, really good damage and really, really good crits, and people would always kind of sleep on him and be like, oh, you know, well, that's just basic Reed. He's not much to write home about. But then he had a lot of, like, secret powers. Invisible Woman is surprisingly, I think, a little bit more spicy than we remember. That single target attack, when her crit rate is up actually does a pretty good job. So we're on Fight 4, and we're back with the Thor and Emma Frost team. This time, Spider-Woman leads off. So I think I am going to put the seduction pheromones on Emma, and we'll see if we can get the enemy agent to smack Emma instead of me. Oh, he's going... Woo. Alright, so he's going to gain some of that health back. Woo. Okay, so that was a lot of combat happening all at once. The signpost can get buggy at times. So basically what happened, it was the signpost into the hot shot, all sort of stacked on each other at one time. It seems like you didn't regain the health from the signpost suck, but that hot shot did a pretty good number on my team over here. This is not as much of a foregone conclusion as some of the other times we fought this team, but we've got the enemy agent out, and Doctor Strange is definitely going to have to heal on his turn, otherwise we might lose him and my agent. Okay, good. There goes the mind control, so now Thor is stunned. That is a complete freebie round. That is exactly why I bring Spider-Woman to combat. At level 9, it can be pretty brutal to enemy teams. And we're going to get a tactician turn, but we may as well hit the Darkest Void so that they have 3 debuffs on them now. Thor's dead. Interestingly enough, Venom Blast costs way less stamina than the Brawl does. That never seemed to make much sense in my mind, but I like it because I like the biofeedback more than I just like a standard punch. So I often lead with the 2 on Spider-Woman instead of the 1. And we're going to get into our final and 5th practice match. And yeah, sometimes this happens. You keep pulling the same team. Spider-Woman's first again. This time I'll hit Thor. Funnily enough, there was somebody in, I think it was a Facebook comment this week, said he hated PvP because sometimes he would fight his own team. And this was honestly the first that I had ever heard of somebody saying they fought their own defensive team on the ladders way back in the day. I've never fought my own defensive team. I never heard anybody talk about it or in a video or anything like that. Here in 2024, for a game that ran from 2012 to 2016, somebody had said, yeah, I fought my own PvP defensive team. And I mean, I didn't know that the mental anguish would go off on a quick action, but apparently it does. And actually my turn got consumed, so okay. Yeah. Here in 2024, somebody said they used to sometimes fight. I should have been resistant to that. I should have had scarring. Yeah, they fought their own defensive team. I cannot believe there was no check for that in the code. Goodbye, agent. There was no check for that in the code. That seems so wrong. Because that is damned if you do and damned if you don't. Like, what are you supposed to do on that one? Lose the offense so that your defense gets the win? Or get the win and then your like, it should wind up in a net 0. Because if you win the fight, you're probably going to go plus 12, and then your defense is going to go plus 12. I'm absolutely ridiculous. I cannot believe that was capable of happening back in the day. But, you know, I take this person for what they're worth. You know, when they said it happened, I believe in it. So when you do the practice matches, unfortunately, the daily win counter does not go up. So we cannot get a spinner. And if you're wondering, well, Napalm, why can't you just do PvP Season 2? The launch tournament button is right there. The reason why I cannot do that is because if I was to launch Season 2, I would reveal the restriction for Season 2. So Season 1, you recruit Deadpool, you get the suit, you get the gun, you get all the other rewards at the other tiers. And then the Season 2 is a season that has a restriction on it. The team announced this a long time ago, did a video on it. If I was to start that season, you would see the restriction, and we do not want to give that away as of yet. So you will have to wait until you get Beta 6 before you can find out what the restriction is for Season 2. So for these videos, we will just be doing 5 practices, and we will imagine we're getting the Daily Spinner. The Daily Spinner is typically gold, PvP points, and command points. So regardless of what you wind up spinning, you're probably going to come out as a net positive on it. You know, if 3 or more of the slots have the PvP points, it might be a little disappointing, but the gold is very good on those spinners, and the command points are very good on those spinners. So I would encourage everybody to be very consistent with their PvP spins and doing their 5 wins per day, as it's going to be pretty beneficial to you. So thanks for coming out and enjoying the first Thursday night fights. I could have been edgy and did, you know, drowning pools, let the bodies hit the floor. But honestly, you know, Marvel Avengers Alliance PvP content was never quite that exciting that a let the bodies hit the floor montage would work like a World of Warcraft vanilla rogue compilation video or something there. So yeah, no interesting music, but I will see you guys tomorrow for the next episode of the Soothing Premium Mission. And hope you have a good night and enjoy the video. Take care, everybody.